The KEYone, a BlackBerry that feels like a BlackBerry. That's a big deal when you look at the other Android phones BlackBerry and TCL has made. It's remarkably well built, and the combination of an aluminum frame with a dark, soft touch back reminds us of an old camera. It's not for everyone, but it does have a kinda classic feel. Speaking of classic, the KEYone's claim to fame is its physical keyboard, a glossy thing that's comfortingly familiar. It wasn't long before we were quickly pecking out messages. But the keyboard has more going for it than satisfying clicks. It doubles as a capacitive trackpad, so you can swipe your finger across to scroll through lists and such. It's fun, although not always useful, when holding the phone vertically. More importantly, you can assign shortcuts to each of the letter keys, turning the keyboard into a launchpad. The KEYone packs a 4.5-inch Full HD screen in a 3:2 aspect ratio. That's more squat and square than other phones, which reduces the amount of information you can squeeze on the screen at one time. This might sound annoying, but in general it didn't pose a problem. Beyond that and some solid outdoor visibility, the screen isn't much to write home about. Ditto for the KEYone speakers. They get a little muddy when you crank up the volume, but that's most smartphones. The camera is a different story. This 12-megapixel shooter is the best we've ever seen on a BlackBerry. It's not perfect, but it does use the same Sony-made sensor as the Google Pixels. So it's no surprise this thing takes detailed, nicely colored shots when the conditions are right. Its focus is fast too, though it does struggle with nailing the exposure sometimes. By default, the camera isn't set up to lock focus before snapping a photo either, which can lead to some blurry pictures unless you enable the feature. For the most part though, both the main camera and the 8-megapixel front camera are respectable photographic companions. We're also pretty fond of BlackBerry's approach to software here. The KEYone runs Android 7.1.1 with a load of added security features and some software tweaks. If you've used earlier Android BlackBerries, you won't notice much difference. BlackBerry Hub is here to unify your inboxes, the Productivity tab is back to remind you what's on your to-do list, and DTech is still a solid tool for managing app permissions and explaining the basics of mobile security. Of course, none of this would matter if the phone choked while trying to switch between apps. That's definitely not the case though. The KEYone uses Qualcomm's Snapdragon 625 chipsets with 3 gigs of RAM. That's not the most powerful bit of silicone out there, but over a week of testing, the KEYone never really felt sluggish. Performance, in other words, was always more than just good enough. The only time we noticed any hiccups was when playing graphically intense games, though they always remained playable. We squeezed quite a bit of life out of the battery too. It routinely ran for an entire day with charge to spare, and you can easily get 2 days if you're not particularly demanding. So yeah, the KEYone is an impressive little machine. In fact, it's the best Android BlackBerry to date. Longtime fans have reason to be pleased, but everyone else? Well, as good as this phone turned out to be, it probably won't make anyone a convert. So if you need a physical keyboard, this is your best option. If you don't, move on. There's nothing to see here.
So remember the rumors of that BlackBerry Mercury? Well, we've just received confirmation that the code name actually never existed, even though the device did. I'm Jaime Rivera with Pocket Now, along with Hayato Huseman and Juan Bagnell, and let's talk about the new BlackBerry. Oh, and if you're asking yourself why we're just calling it the new BlackBerry, that's because it actually doesn't have a name yet. As a matter of fact, there's very little that we can share with you about specifications or internals, as TCL isn't ready to share. Details like screen dimensions and technology are also not known yet. What we do know is that for a pre-production unit, this new BlackBerry is gorgeous. We've got a metallic build on the trim that's complemented by a textured back. And then there's the signature BlackBerry feature, its QWERTY keyboard. We are allowed to share that the keyboard includes a few tricks, like capacitive navigation for menus, sort of like what we saw with the Priv, but with a couple of enhancements. And you'll also notice that the keys actually look somewhat larger than the Priv, something we do applaud. Another trick includes a fingerprint scanner on the spacebar, but that's something we still cannot show off as, again, the software is not final. About the only signature TCL feature here that we've noticed is the infamous power button at the top left and the convenience key at the middle right. Today's presentation was mostly about how BlackBerry and TCL will collaborate in providing users with the best BlackBerry experience ever. And I've got to say that from this device in particular, this is a very positive start. Expect more information as we get closer to MWC 2017 in Barcelona, as again, a lot of information is still not on the table. For now, make sure you follow us on social media and hit that subscribe button down below for more videos like this one. You can also follow me on Twitter, Jaime_Rivera, or on Instagram at Jaime Rivera. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I am Jaime Rivera. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you with more coverage of CES 2017.